These are the wildest DMT experiences ever shared on Joe Rogan. Episode number 2047, Joe Rogan and Brian Muraresku explored DMT, altered consciousness, and its link to spiritual and transcendent experiences.
But also one of the most bizarre things about the DMT state in particular, which is something that we know is produced endogenously in the human body, that you've been there before. Like when you get there, you're
What do
like,
you mean?
oh, I've been here before.
It seems familiar.
Oh, 100%. Like the first time I did it, I was like, oh my God. It's so mind-blowing, but also so familiar that you think, oh, I've been here before. And I think you're there all the time. I think you probably go there to some extent every night.
When you're dreaming?
Yeah. And we don't know. We don't specifically know, like, we do know because of Rick Strassman's work. Strassman, who wrote DMT, the Spirit Molecule, and he did the first FDA-approved studies that they did with IV slow drip DMT experiences. And these people had just wild experiences with entities and realms. And apparently there's some stuff that's going on right now in London. And Graham Hancock told me about this, that there's some really profound work that's being done, that they're doing these studies where they're doing the same sort of technique. They're doing it for like 3 hours. And
At Imperial.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's at Imperial. Yeah.
Do you know more about it? You can tell us.
Yes, it's long. I'm not sure if it's that long. I think it's 30 minutes. But there's another team in Basel in Switzerland that's also experimenting with infused. I think it's like 90 minutes. And interestingly, this is somewhat breaking news. There's a new study happening in the U.S. So the first U.S. research on extended state DMT is happening at UC San Diego, which is really cool. Actually, Jamie, there should be a press release about it, which came out earlier this year. There's a team there being headed by a guy named John Dean, Dr. John Dean. He's talked with Rick, by the way, about his research. And they recently got some funding to be the first U.S. site to host these extended state infusions. And to really trying to get on the route. Are you interested?
Yeah, sign me up. Well, I imagine it will eventually become something like ketamine therapy. You know, one of my friends, Neil Brennan, who's suffered from depression in his life, hilarious comedian, he went to, I guess it's a psychiatrist. I don't know who does these things, but he went to this place where they give you an IV ketamine drip. And he's like, okay, it's probably going to be, just relaxing. He goes, oh, no, you are tripping your balls off in a doctor's office, like hooked up to an IV bag, closing your eyes and experiencing this like full-blown ketamine state, which he said is like profoundly weird and very, very psychedelic. And some people, it helps them alleviate depression. Yeah, but it's also like super abused recreationally, especially around here. There's a lot of people that get prescribed ketamine for depression, so they have like these nasal pumps of ketamine. See people at night. Like, we had someone in the club that went into a K-hole.
No way.
Yeah. Someone in the audience. The husband was like, she did too much ketamine. This lady's like, yeah. At a comedy club, because you're spraying this stuff up your nose, and no one's stopping you from doing it 10 times.
That seems irresponsible.
Yeah, that's what people do.
I know, but this is my
drunk.
That's my concern with some of these drugs.
Right. That is a legitimate concern, but also that is a concern with food. You can't tell people, you can't regulate people's food consumption just because people get overweight.
Yeah.
You got to let people figure it out, and you got to give them the information and the tools that they need to make good choices. And the only way you do that is if it's legal and studied and people understand, what is the correct dose? Like, what is the correct thing? What's the best way to do it that's the most beneficial and causes the least harm and treats it with the most respect? Because one of the things about rituals, I think, and these ritualistic settings, is that there's this heightened state of importance and significance of the thing that you're about to embark on. Yeah. This journey that you're about to go on. And related to this, there was a place that I had initially purchased before I put the mothership at the Ritz, before I bought the Ritz, I was under contract to buy this one building that was owned by a cult. And there's a documentary about the cult. It's called Holy Hell. And it's about this guy who's a hypnotist and also a gay porn star who started a cult in California and then moved it out to Austin. And this guy would do this thing with these people where he would call it the knowing. It's a crazy documentary because, like all cult documentaries, in the beginning, it looks awesome. In the beginning, it's like, oh, they figured it out. This is the solution to what ails us. The modern society where people are disconnected, there's no sense of community. These people are splashing around the water together, they're going on hikes together, they're doing yoga together, they're eating together, they're singing together. God, it looks amazing, amazing. And he had this thing that he would do, what was called the knowing. And there's videos of him doing it to people. Mm-hmm. And he would, when these felt like they were ready, and it took forever, some people would be very angry. He's like, you're not ready. Because he was just a con man. But what he did was convince them that when this thing would happen and he would touch them and give them the knowing, that they would have this profound experience where they would connect with God. And it worked. That's what's crazy. When he did it to these people, and obviously these people are deeply committed, right? They're cult members. They've bought in hook, line, sinker, and he's a hypnotist. So he's doing hypnotic therapy on these people, and when he does it to them, you see them like, oh, like, and they talked about it like it was the happiest moment in their life, and they were talking about it in this documentary in the context of describing how this guy was a con man. And about this guy ruined their lives, and they followed him for 2 decades, and now they're lost and 50 years old just trying to find their way in the world, and they were just young people who were trying to find a way. They still talk about that experience being one of the most impactful, profound moments of their life. And it was bullshit. But was it? It clearly wasn't bullshit. He didn't really have magic powers, but he did have the power of suggestion. He did understand hypnosis. And because they believed in him so much, they really did have this experience. So what is it about this trick, this placebo effect, this thing that you can hit, this switch that you can hit, where these endogenous chemicals that we know exist, we can make them bust out of your brain in some profound way that makes you have this complete transcendent experience. That's
what interests me about this research at UCSD. I think they're, in addition to the extended state infusions with DMT, they're also setting up these volunteers to fMRIs to really try and figure out how DMT is interacting with the brain, how it's released or not. And I think part of that interest in that research is really trying to figure out the endogenous. That's sort of the holy grail of DMT research. So this guy, John Dean, I think he's found it in rat brains, but we've never actually seen conclusively, never measured the presence of DMT in the human body, in the human brain. I think that's part of his interest, is trying to figure out if he can endogenously identify the presence within these states of mind. So whether it's someone in deep meditation or in dreaming or some other altered experience, I think that part of the really interesting part of about the research there is trying to isolate exactly how that gets triggered. Because if we're sitting on this incredibly potent chemical and we don't know how to release or to control it, it's something that deserves a little more attention, I think.
For sure. But the Kundalini people think that you can achieve that state through Kundalini.
So that needs to be studied then, I think.
This is coming from people that I know that have done both.
Yeah.
But my question is, one of the things that does happen when you have a profound breakthrough experience, you don't have flashbacks, really, but you can have a dream. And McKenna talked about this. And in that dream, you'll smoke DMT, and you'll have a DMT trip. It's almost like a doorway gets opened up.
I've had dreams like that.
Have you?
Yeah.
What were they like?
Yeah, because I set up this boundary in my real life. It hasn't happened often, but I've had a couple dreams where I've imbibed the potion, and it's very strange, actually, man. I don't have visions. There isn't a breakthrough experience, but there's this sense of like overwhelming calm and serenity. And so I never felt like I was hallucinating things that weren't there. Maybe I got the wrong potion. But when I've had these experiences in the dream world, it's like the dream world wraps itself around me in a cocoon, and I have this ability just to also lucid dream of this very rich dream life.
Have you always been able to lucid dream?
Yeah, since I was a kid.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's another thing that you would think that I would have practiced. Like, it seems like there's actual strategies to lucid dream.
Right.
And it seems like it's fun. But why have I not looked into it at all? I think about that with
it's worth your attention.
Holotropic breathing, and I think about that with McKenna talked about that too, which is really funny. He said, because people were talking about all these different ways to achieve psychedelic states without psychedelics, and he said it makes me think of this one monk who had practiced a city of levitation. And
it's one of those cities.
Yeah, and he had practiced this for like 10 years. And the Buddha came to town, and he said, I have practiced a city of levitation. I can walk on water. And the Buddha was like, yeah, but the ferry's only a nickel. And the idea is like, yeah, you could probably get there endogenously, but why would you when mushrooms are everywhere? That was McKenna's take on it. Like, yeah, okay. Maybe you can get there through yoga or whatever, but you can definitely get there through DMT or ayahuasca.
If you understand the dosing, like you mentioned, if you understand how to grow them, how to use them properly, and I think that's kind of what we're missing from the ancient past. And so it's kind of fun. I've had all these weird conversations over the past 3 years about like the application of the ancient ritual to today, and my feelings on psychedelics have changed quite a bit over the past 3 years. And what I've realized, amongst other things, is that it's less about the drug, and I think it's more about everything you just described. It's more about the ritual. It's more about the ceremony. The fact that these drugs are organic and they've been found on the planet, and their use on every inhabited continent has been cataloged, is something worth reflecting on. So they're there. You can't ignore them. But throughout the long arc of history, there have been practices and protocols around their use, which typically obtained within small communities, small, tight-knit communities where people took care of each other, where people knew how to grow and dose these things. And I think that one of the things I talk about in the book is this: the secret to pharmacology is posology, the notion that it's all about the dosing. And it's all about the ritual around which this experience is taking place. And so, like when you were at Eleusis, for example, remember we went to, you got to see Eleusis in person. Like, if this hypothesis is true, right, about this psychedelic potion, it wasn't consumed in a dining room like in haste with no preparation. Like you would have prepared for at least 18 months, if not longer, to walk that sacred pilgrimage trail, to show up there, and to, over the course of 9 days, by the way, to experience this rite of passage, which for many people was the culminating experience of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something we're just missing today, at least in the West. I don't think we have that kind of sacred container.
Well, it's illegal. That's a big part of it. And there's a lot of ignorance as to like what these things are and what the experience actually is. And I absolutely agree that ceremony is important, and setting is very, very important. Having the proper mindset, making sure that you haven't eaten anything before you've done it. But I don't know if ceremony is more important than the actual experience, because the actual experience you could have with a bunch of your idiot friends sitting on a couch. And if you do DMT, you will fucking 100% go there. And you'll be like, how is this possible? How is it possible that this is literally 15 seconds away? Like you take 3 giant hits and you're gone. And you exist in this realm that it's unimaginable. And it's you there. It's not you're seeing things that aren't there. It's you're there. You're there in this thing, because you're not just seeing things. You're experiencing them. It's like they're working on your brain. It's very weird. Whatever it is, like you can sometimes see them like moving around. They're like mechanics, like guys with screwdrivers and shit, like fucking around with your head. It's very weird. It's a very weird experience. And unfortunately, it's illegal, and it's crazy because fentanyl isn't. It's like you could buy opiates at a pharmacy. You can't experience something that is probably the root of a lot of religious experiences, if not most of them.
In episode number 1897, Graham Hancock discusses a study where extended DMT sessions lead volunteers to report the same entities and realm.
We had dinner together in London, and you were speaking about research that's being done on dimethyltryptamine.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Well, that's happening at Imperial College, and I recently attended an event just a few weeks ago with several of the volunteers in that project. And what's happening is they are legally being given DMT at Imperial College, which is one of the leading research institutes in the UK. And for the first time ever, they're not looking to find out what are the possible therapeutic outcomes of this. They're actually looking at the experience itself. It's very well known, anybody who's used DMT, I've used DMT multiple times, is going to have entity encounters. They're going to meet entities who may sometimes look very weird. They may be part animal, part human in form. They may be almost formless, but yet they speak to you, they communicate with you. And of course, the mainstream attitude, this is just rubbish, this is just your brain on drugs. Well, Imperial College, they're now testing that view. And what they're finding is that and something else, DMT, as I'm sure you know, Joe, is a very short-acting experience when you smoke it. It's about 12 minutes, maybe less. You're in there, you're plunged into a completely convincing, sometimes terrifying parallel reality. It's so confusing, you hardly know what's going on, and then you're out again. But you come out with a feeling that something's been downloaded to you. In Imperial College, they found a way to keep people in the peak state of DMT for an hour. They're delivering it through drip, through timed release, and they're keeping the volunteers in an hour in that state. So they have time to find their way around the DMT realm that they find themselves in. And the astonishing thing is that these volunteers, both men and women, are all coming back with accounts of meeting the same entities and the same world. And it has to raise the question, and I know Rick Strassman has been on your show. And kudos to Rick Strassman, because he was really the first scientist to work with DMT and human volunteers at the University of New Mexico. Rick Strassman is open to the idea that what happens with DMT is that it alters the receiver wavelength of the brain, and that it allows us to gain access to other realities, that these encounters are not unreal, that they're real, but they're real on a level that we can't experience in a day-to-day state of consciousness. We have to be in an altered state of consciousness in order to experience them. And ultimately, the aim of this project is to map the DMT realm. We talk a lot about extraterrestrials and ETs and making contact, and I'm sure the universe is filled with life, and it would be a very good thing to have the tech to make contact, or perhaps not a good thing, with all those other life forms in the universe. But right there in the DMT experience, inside our own heads, we have the opportunity to encounter another world, another realm, entities who are very different from ourselves and who have teachings to give us. And I think we should be spending a lot more research funds on exploring those experiences and finding out what's going on, rather than zooming off to other planets. Let's do both, but let's make sure that we understand that the consciousness is an enormous mystery, and at the level of consciousness, DMT opens up literally a parallel world. And there's a nexus here with quantum physics, and with the notion of parallel realms and parallel realities. Maybe we can actually access them. Well, the work at Imperial College ultimately is going to come up with some answers on that.
And so much more cost effective.
So much more cost effective.
Traveling to other galaxies.
Yeah. I mean, let's do that first.
Yeah.
Let's understand what we are. Let's understand what our consciousness is. Let's not just keep locked in this, we're here to produce, we're here to consume, we're here to buy cars. Sure, we're here, those are all part of our life today, but it's not all of us. We're much more mysterious, much deeper creatures than that. And psychedelics offer a doorway into another way of exploring human consciousness. And when we do that, we find that there are unseen realities all around us that can be made visible in a deeply altered state of consciousness. And yes, in terms of research funds, it's so much cheaper than trying to, fly off to Mars or wherever. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. I'm just saying that if we're going to do that, we need to explore the mystery of consciousness. And if we're going to if we're seriously going to engage with the ET abduction phenomenon, with so-called extraterrestrials encounters, we must recognize that fundamental to this is consciousness. It's not just physical contact. There's consciousnesses involved. I wrote a book back in 2005 called Supernatural Meetings with the Ancient Teachers of Mankind. And it is astonishing, Joe, how encounters that were described as encounters with elves and fairies in the Middle Ages, encounters that shamans to this day describe as encounters with spirits, that all the characteristics of those encounters apply to encounters with so-called extraterrestrials today. It's as though in each generation, each civilization, we construe experiences according to our cultural background. So they called them fairies and elves in the Middle Ages. Shamans called them spirits. We call them ETs today. But if we're really going to crack this problem, and it is a problem, and it is a mystery, I'm not dismissing it, it's a very important mystery. If we're going to crack it, we're going to have to use psychedelics to explore the mysteries of consciousness.
In episode number 2129, David Holthouse describes a single DMT trip that convinced him of reincarnation and karma.
Well, then we get into DMT. Right.
Okay.
All right. I tried DMT.
When did you do that?
It was in 2013. And I'm a one and done DMT guy. Don't need to do it again. Okay. So here's my DMT story. Is that in 1999 I was super into the rave scene, and I was in London at this 3-day rave called the Warp. And it was the kind of party where it's like someone asked you the time, you'd be like, it's 9:30, and they'd be like, AM or PM, And it was a great party, right? 3 days near the Tower of London, literally underground, an underground party, literally underground. They had DJ rooms and dance rooms, but they also had these live performance rooms. And I saw this performance artist called the Techno-Pagan Octopus Messiah. Okay. And he was describing his DMT experience, and I hadn't heard about DMT. And by the way, his stuff is fantastic. I think he's come the closest of anybody except Terence McKenna in actually like capturing what the DMT experience is as a writer. Outside his performance, the room where he's performing, there was this tent that just said deep meditation therapy. And I was like, oh, now I know what that means, right? And I watched people doing DMT, and I was like, I was already rolling on 3 or 4 hits of MDMA, so I was like, not tonight. But if it ever comes my way, I'm going to do it. I made myself a promise that night. I'm not going to seek this out, but if it ever comes my way. And then it did. And in 2014, I just went to see a buddy of mine in Brooklyn. I was working on a documentary out there, and he was like, you want to try this? I was like, okay, before I change my mind, let's do this. And 15 minutes later, I believed in reincarnation. I believed in karma and reincarnation. So and I felt a lot better about death.
Yeah, I felt a lot better about death too after I did it.
What my experience was that I got, a short glimpse that's sort of a user manual for the cosmos. And in there was the knowledge that reincarnation is real, that the Buddhists have it right, that after you die, you go to the Bardo for 49 days. Your soul is out there. You get a chance to kind of like assess the last life you led before you take another spin on the carousel. Learn what you can, get rewarded for your good deeds, suffer for your sins, and then go back. And I believe it, but I also just like it. I just like it. It feels true to me in a way that like the evangelist or fundamentalist Christian idea of like you can just do a bunch of bad shit and then, promise yourself to Jesus and have a clean slate. Fuck that. I'm not buying that. Yeah. But karma and reincarnation, I'm buying it.
There's something there. I mean, it's fascinating that concept has existed for so long, and even the concept of heaven that existed for so long,
right?
And angels and souls and all those things. I think we have a very limited ability to grasp reality. And I think that limited ability is biological. It's kind of based upon our primate origins and what we are as a thing, as a biological entity. We have essentially the tools that we need in order to survive. And those tools are the ability to recognize danger and communicate and establish community and purpose and all these different things. But when you have like real breakthrough psychedelic experiences, to me it seems like it's allowing you a vision into all that exists. Not just what you're physically capable of seeing as a human being, but this chemical gateway or whatever it is that psychedelics give you allows you to see that these things, what I got out of it is that everything is connected. Every action, every thought, your thoughts, your life, your words, your deeds, the way you approach things, the way you respond to things, that they're all connected in some very strange way. And living my life, the more I follow that as thinking that everything is all connected, the more my life has been more beautiful.
Right.
The more my life has been more rewarding and rich and more pleasing, more filled with love and community. And it's something that I kind of need to like remind myself all the time, because I think the biological entity has certain like human reward systems that are built into it. Try to acquire resources, to try to to try to establish dominance, to try to succeed. There's all these different things that as a human, people they want success, they want all these different things. And that those things can kind of, because you could see the physical manifestation of that work, that can sort of overcome the idea that everything is connected. And so that's, I think, why people cheat on their taxes or insider trade or do all these different things, fuck people over in business deals, and they don't think that they're going to experience any negative consequences of it.
Right.
But I don't think anybody gets away free.
Again, that's why I like the idea of karma and reincarnation.
Yeah.
You don't get away with it.
There's something to it. There's something to
And it's,
karma.
again, going back to the Vedas, the oldest spiritual, organized system of spiritual beliefs known, for our species. That's core to it.
Well,
karma
we have
and reincarnation.
the most complicated organism. We are the most complicated organism that we're currently aware of, in terms of our ability to manipulate our environment, our ability to communicate, our ability to create things.
Yeah.
But we don't have an operator's manual,
Right.
which is crazy. So we're essentially running on this primate software that was really established. It's almost like we have DOS or Windows 95, and we just keep refreshing it.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
There's no real new operating system.
Yeah.
And it's so filled with flaws that the human operating system is designed to ward off predators and to fight off neighboring tribes and to try to avoid starvation and to try to make sure that your genes pass on and that your enemy's genes don't. And to exist in 2024 in modern Western world with all of our technology and all of our knowledge and all of the information that we have available with this ancient primate software is so problematic. It's so fraught with peril. There's so many things that can go wrong and so many people that go sideways with drug addiction and gambling addiction and sex addiction and this addiction and that addiction and so much chaos and thievery and violence and and deception and fraud, and there's just so many things that exist that are negative but are tied to this concept of achieving and getting more, which is this famine-based mentality, this resource acquiring mentality that really is like the monkey stealing your sunglasses so it can get mangoes.
Right.
It's really,
No, totally agree. And I felt like with DMT, I got like a very short, I felt like there was this sentient, generally benevolent force out there in the cosmos that was like, okay, look, I'm going to give you a lot of information. You're not going to be able to retain most of it.
Right.
But you ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I brought back that I still believe a decade later is that reincarnation is real. That's how it works. Karma is real. That's how it works. What you do in this life affects your next one. So, and that also gives you like kind of the user's guide you're talking about how to be a better person, how to be a better species.
In episode number 840, Joe Rogan on ayahuasca and DMT, a brief but intense mind-resetting trip.
Like, come on, stop with the toxins.
All right,
You're
so
throwing up.
at least we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Let's just do drugs and have fun.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, ayahuasca is DMT, but what it is, it's an orally active version of DMT. I'll give you the quick breakdown.
Okay.
Your gut produces something called monoamine oxidase, and what it is it breaks down DMT. So if you eat like grass, like there's certain types of grasses and
Right.
lettuce and a bunch of different plants, like thousands of different plants have DMT in them, but you don't trip when you eat them. The reason why is because your stomach produces something called monoamine oxidase. Well, these indigenous people in the Amazon, they figured out how to combine one plant which has DMT in it and then another plant which has an MAO inhibitor.
Right.
So this MAO inhibitor inhibits your body's production of monoamine oxidase, and so the DMT naturally absorbs in your body. But you're eating these fucked up plants that taste like shit. They taste like a toad's dick.
Right.
And you're just throwing up and shitting yourself. It's supposed to be an incredible spiritual experience. I haven't done it. I've only done the way stronger version of it, which you smoke, which doesn't give you any throwing up, any diarrhea, and
Which sounds way better.
It's way better. It's got to be. I think the other one's really amazing too. But the thing about the DMT thing, they call it the businessman's trip, is you're in and out in 15 minutes.
That's perfect.
But I go
How
back
do you
in
feel
again.
after?
Amazing.
So you're not hungover?
No. It's
need
one
another
of the
bump,
most
you're good.
transient drugs ever exhibited or ever observed in the human body. Your body brings you back to baseline really quickly. So you're high as a fucking... You're in the center of the universe.
Yeah,
You're
literally.
talking to geometric patterns that are made out of love and understanding and know everything about everything you've ever done your whole life and recognize your bullshit and dissolve your ego right in front of you, show you your life in like these hieroglyphs and show you these insane images that are made out of like neon with no borders, and then 15 minutes later you're cowboy again. But you're renewed. It's like resetting your whole experience on this planet.
I'm in. You sold me.
In Joe Rogan Experience Fight Companion on March 22, 2025, Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo talk about seeing matrix code with a red laser while on DMT.
Have you seen the DMT red laser light thing?
I've heard about that.
Yo.
I heard it's nuts. Have you done it? Have you seen
No,
it?
but I've seen a bunch of videos on it. Apparently if you do DMT and you shoot a red laser, I sent Jamie a video. If you shoot a red laser, you see the matrix, you see code.
Yeah.
And everybody sees the same shit.
Everybody. Not
Yes.
only that, but
It's
if you
real
like get
shit.
above the laser and you look down,
Yes.
you see layers of code.
Yes. Check this out.
Also,
Look
Chase
at this.
Hughes,
Look.
I just saw a video of him saying he saw it too.
Yeah,
He didn't
this
talk
is
about
on
it.
Chase
It's
Hughes.
the same
Is
thing
he a
sent
famous
me.
scientist or something?
No, he was just on the podcast though.
This guy was?
Yeah, he's a mind
his
control
guess.
expert. It explains psyops and how
Seen it on Instagram, and I heard you and Danny talking about it. So you've done it.
Yeah, I saw it on Instagram and flew Danny to my house right away.
Like, break this down for people because it got shared amongst my group, and it's like, what the fuck?
Exactly. And that's the only question you're still going to have after you see it.
It doesn't answer any questions. It just invites a lot more.
Yeah, nothing else. There's code. Absolutely, there is code.
So the code's not like spinning there. It's like, it's literally like kind of written out static.
It's static. I can move the laser up and down and see all of the letters, but it's like three-dimensional. So I can get close to the wall. I can look down inside of the laser that way, and I can look up in the laser that way.
What's your best guess at explaining that?
I would be a fool.
Okay. We can just leave it at that.
Can't somebody
Maybe
write
it's
the
the
code
universal
down?
consciousness that we're projecting
They
something
just discovered
onto
this.
Well, I bet some eggheads probably are.
I know.
right.
I know the
People
guy who
have.
discovered it.
People
Man.
have.
Really?
I don't know him personally, but Brandon McCaffrey, one of my black belts, he knows him personally. He goes, dude, if you ever want to do your podcast, I could make, I'm like,
Let's
hell
pay,
yeah.
Let's pay attention to this fight.
This is a great fight.
Dude,
Gunnar Nelson has
Gunnar
a fight in
Nelson
3
kept
years.
it
that was seeing the Matrix when you're on DMT with a red laser.
Yeah.
How crazy
any,
is that?
Any laser?
Wild.
It's like a red laser. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube.
Is it like a specific laser? Or
I wonder
is
if
it
you
just
could do it
like,
with a green laser.
I don't
too?
know.
Or is it just like any laser?
I don't know, but there's video of a bunch of people. That's just one dude. That's like the most, all the other guys are like stoner dudes. You know what I mean? I wanted to show like this dude. He seemed to have a little more
Seemed to have a
intelligence a little bit, or a little
Chase is very smart.
believability,
Yeah.
But everybody sees the same shit. They see the fucking Matrix, the numbers, the code. Isn't that fucking life-changing?
Did you saw that Tom Campbell interview that I did, right?
Yeah, I love that one. That was one of my favorite ones.
One's nuts.
Yeah.
That one's nuts.
Yeah.
When he's explaining to you that consciousness creates reality.
You know what? I never really took the simulation theory seriously, but I always believed like Jesus is a new thing for me. Like the Shroud of Turin, I'm all in now with the Shroud of Turin. But before that, I was like, I don't know about Jesus, maybe, but I believe in God and I believe in a creator. Like whoever created this shit
here we go.
is God.
Here we go.
Right?
Gunnar Nelson, Kevin Holland.
And there must be code on how God created this.
Yeah.
So that I think science, like the simulation guys, they're finding what God created. Like who else could put this simulation together but a God? Who else?
Here's the craziest theory. AI is about to become sentient, and then they're going to do quantum computers with AI. What if that's how Jesus comes back? What if Jesus reemerges
and he's just
as
this voice,
a
right?
created consciousness?
And he's on an app.
Yeah.
And you can just talk to
everywhere. By that time, it'd probably be able to communicate to your fucking head. I mean, they've already figured out how to put signals into people's heads, put voices in people's heads. They can literally have things say things to you, or you hear voices in your head.
Yeah,
they have that technology. And if quantum computing gets attached to AI, and then it figures out how to make better versions of itself, like what does that mean?
But isn't that similar to like MK Ultra? What we're doing to compromise people?
Well, that's different.
How's it different though?
Because MK Ultra, they were just trying to manipulate people with acid, and they were doing all sorts of different psychedelic drugs and doing it
to
on
get
people
them to think
without
crazy
them knowing.
shit, though, right?
But also try to get them to manipulate them so they can get them to do things like try to kill the president or something like that.
In episode number 470, Joe Rogan and Amber Lyon describe intense DMT and ayahuasca trips that dissolve the ego and reveal vivid cosmic visions.
How do you go back to reality after?
How do you go to Fear Factor after that? That was my problem. The first time I did it, I was,
what am I doing here?
Ooh, I was like, holy schnitzel. This is, it was the first one. The first one I did was the 5-methoxy one. And 5-methoxy is much more reality dissolving. It's like you don't see anything. You don't exist anymore. You as you're not allowed to keep. You keep it with DMT. You don't keep with 5-MeO. You as you goes away, and you enter to the center of everything. You become a part of the very fiber of the universe. You look at the universe from a different perspective. The perspective that you're at right now is a multi-celled organism, host to millions and billions, in fact, of other multi-celled organisms, and you're just getting through life, getting in your car, driving around. You look at it through the energy of the cell itself. Like you look at it through the momentum of biological life and evolution. You look at it through a completely non-society-based concept, through a completely alien context. Like you're seeing the world not through the eyes of a mammal, not through the eyes of a fish, not through the eyes of life, not through the eyes of anything with biology, not through the eyes of anything that has any instincts to stay alive, through the eyes of something that realizes it's a part of everything. And that there's no bottom, there's no up, there's all. And it's all around you all the time. And the first time I really came to understand the idea of standing on something is ridiculous. Like the idea that like I'm on the ground, like we're standing here in my office. It's so ridiculous because we're not. We're spinning 1,000 miles an hour in a circle. That circle is a part of a greater system called the solar system. That system is a part of a greater system called the galaxy. The whole thing is spinning around a black hole. Like we're not there's nothing flat. It's up, it's down, it's left, it's right. And in having that experience, I felt like I was somehow or another just in there. a part of the mechanism of the very universe itself. But it was very not me. And then when I had to come back, I had to sort of re-put together my personality, re-put together my position in the world as far as like what my responsibilities are, or what is expected of me, or what I'm supposed to be doing on Monday morning. I had to re-put that all together because I didn't exist for 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was, probably 15. And then sort of examine how preposterous I am. You know, examine ego. And I remember saying to my friends after we had just got done doing it, like, I can't even me describing this to you is bullshit. Because what I'm trying to do is sound clever in the way I'm choosing my words. I'm allowing my ego to paint. I want you to be entertained by my words. I don't just want these words to come out in an absolutely perfectly truthful form. I'm also trying to be clever. I like to use words. I like to sing a song with words, you know, and I'm realizing that as I'm saying this, that it's like, I'm full of shit. We're all full of shit. Like, there's a benefit to being full of shit. The benefit is like, it's not even full of shit. It's just, like, my friend Joey Diaz is my favorite human ever. Like, the way he talks. I love being around him. He's just so much fun. And it's the way he talks. He knows that people love the way he talks. So he's really good at singing a song with his words, you know? And to get off that, to try to look at something off that trip, the trip of singing a song with your words, is really hard. And DMT makes that song look stupid as fuck. Because DMT lets you know, like, I get it. You think that in the context of humanity and civilization and your interpersonal relationships that you have with other beings, that what you're saying is important. But it's not.
Yeah.
And here's evidence that it's not. Here's evidence that nothing is important. And whatever you do that makes this thing that you think is important, whatever you do that makes that fucked up, stop. Stop all that. Stop all that craziness. Whatever you're doing that's causing you anxiety, whatever you're doing that's causing you too much objective thinking, too much interviewing yourself and going over the thoughts and like, why am I doing that? Why am I still smoking? Why am I still eating shitty food? Just stop doing all that, because that's a mess. That's a mess. You don't need that. And it just made me look so foolish. But it's very different than NDMT.
Yeah.
So those are the two experiences that I had. Then I had both of them. I only did the 5-MeO 3 times, but the regular DMT was about 5 or 6 more. Because it was just, the regular DMT was more interesting to me. I felt like whatever the 5-MeO had to say, I got it. I got it pretty quick. Not that I couldn't benefit from it, but didn't call me back. You know, it was like, there it is, bitch. Take a look. You got it? Good. Now go about your business. Whereas DMT was, every time was a new thing. Every time I did it was it was similar, but every time was like, oh, I think I know what this is about. Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Come through here, sir. Here we go. You ready? Woo! And then some new thing that you're like, oh, fucking Christ.
That's how the ayahuasca is. One of the healers I work with has been using it for 18 years, and he says still every time he does it, it's different, and it completely opens his mind to. He still can't figure it out, and it's been 18 years, and I think something else ayahuasca is good for when you look at through a therapeutic or medical scope, which is kind of similar to what you had in your DMT experience, is that it does take away a lot of the fear of life and the fear of dying. And I think that's something too that I had, and most people do have, a fear of death. And one time I had ayahuasca and I hadn't eaten in 5 days, so I was really ready to absorb the medicine. And right after drinking it, Joe, I started feeling like I was dying. And I started thinking, oh my gosh, has anyone died from ayahuasca? Because I just, in my brain, it was telling me you're dying. And I started having trouble breathing. And I was remembering that if I didn't remember to breathe, I wouldn't breathe. And then the feeling got so intense that I remember looking over at my boyfriend and thinking how sad it was that I'd never see him again. And at that point, I started seeing sacred geometry. And then I literally left my body and became this vibration. And I looked back at my body thinking, it's so sad I couldn't hold on to that body. You know, what's wrong with me that everyone in this room is able to stay alive and I had to die?
So how many trips had you gone on before this had happened?
That was my 8th one. So at this point...
Jesus fucking Christ. The 8th visit or 8th...
8th time drinking ayahuasca.
So during the first visit?
No, this was a separate time. So I went down to the Amazon, then I've traveled the world the past year researching mushrooms. And then when I was in Indonesia, I was given the opportunity to be included in an ayahuasca experience. This was a couple months ago, and this is when this happened.
I wanted to ask you that. I've talked to people that have done ayahuasca with things that have come from the Middle East, different plants that have come from the Middle East. They've mixed it, and they've seen very different imagery than the imagery that people report seeing from the jungles of Peru and Brazil. Apparently, McKenna's idea was that, and it might have been someone else's idea that he had talked about in a speech. He believed that when you had a psychedelic experience, you were also participating in all of the various trips that everyone else had done with that psychedelic, like essentially throughout history.
Wow.
And that was one of the reasons why fairly recent drugs had an empty feeling. Like, he would talk about ketamine, and he said that ketamine would feel like you were in an office building that was new but nobody had moved into yet. And like there'd be no one there. Be like walking around, there's no furniture, like this is bizarre. He's like, that was the experience that he had with ketamine, whereas with psilocybin, he would have these experiences that were just intensely rich with all this sacred imagery that has been, observed in artwork and various cultures. Like they have like this interchangeable imagery that may have like very similar psychedelic consumptions. And that's what you're seeing, when you're seeing jaguars and black people and snakes when you do the ayahuasca, and where you do the ayahuasca from the South American ayahuasca. But when you would do the ayahuasca that was made with similar ingredients on the other parts of the world, you have different visions.
Oh, for sure. And this one, I mean, the ones I had in the jungle were, like you said, more jungle-esque. And this one was brewed in an area of Australia. And so for some reason, it was just a completely different experience for me. And it could have also been, there could have been other variables that I didn't need as much personal healing. Instead, I was led to this knowledge. Sometimes ayahuasca is more of a ladder to bring you to this higher intelligence, to feed you knowledge. And so I wasn't having any animalistic visions or really sacred geometry. I just flew out of my body and became this vibration. And it told me clearly, like you said, I don't know if it was a voice or writing or what, but this huge, intense power told me that death doesn't exist. And why do we fear death? Why does man fear death? It's ridiculous. And it's just to cause fear. And really, you are this vibration, this soul. And amber, your body on Earth, is just your organic spacesuit that allows you to survive on Earth. But you really are this soul. And no matter what, you never really die. And it was laughing. Like, how ridiculous that it is that man thinks you actually die. And then I was just taken through the universe, and I just was flying down this vortex, and I saw Earth, and I saw all the fighting and wars and all the negativity that I'd focused on for all these years. And I saw how petty that was compared to this huge, massive force that was communicating with me, whether it be God or intelligent beings or just something made up in my head. But it was just so intense. And I compared that to all the fighting and the negativity, and it just left a permanent footprint on my brain that I need to, whatever this force, this message is so much more important than what I've been focusing on Earth, especially in my career. And it started giving me this message of love and healing, and that we really need to get in and fix the core problem, which is this mental disorder facing our species, versus just focusing on the symptoms, for me, journalistically, which was wars and fighting. And then after that, I was shown how man was created according to this.
Oh, please do tell.
It just was, I was shown DNA, and I was shown that it was a DNA mixing. And I had not read any theories or anything else on this, but I was shown DNA taken from other areas of the universe mixed with DNA on Earth, and then that's how man was created as part of. Yeah, it was pretty intense. As part of this plan. And
by who?
I don't know. That's a good question. I couldn't tell exactly what this force was, but that's what it was showing me, how man was created.
So we have this idea, like, oh, please, you're saying that aliens made.
Episode number 1747, Blair White shares with Joe Rogan how a DMT trip, meeting mysterious elves, taught her to take life less seriously.
But this is another one of the really big realizations I had doing DMT. So we should talk about that.
Okay.
So since doing DMT, which I did it 2 weeks ago, I did it twice in 2 weeks, I had this like overwhelming sense of like, some people do DMT and then they start seeing people as NPCs. I've heard that talked about. Like they start seeing people as like, these are not real people with souls, and like, that's strange to me.
Who said that?
I see it all the time. People's like, I've had friends that do it and they start seeing people as NPCs based on what kind of trip they had. Like if they saw the elves or didn't, if they just saw cool colors or didn't. And for me,
Wait a minute. So you're saying that if people have a DMT trip and they didn't see the elves, and they think of that person who had that DMT trip as an NPC?
As like an NPC, like you don't have like a soul because you didn't really connect with like any beings. You just saw pretty colors. You got a very simple experience. You know what I mean? But I had the opposite from after doing DMT. I see so much more humanity in everyone I'm around. Like I feel very changed after doing DMT. It's a very profound experience. And like I'm just noticing more things about people. I'm being more aware of like their body language when they talk to me. And I think it was a very positive thing doing DMT. And my experience was the closest thing to a spiritual experience I've ever had, because I've never been a person that's been terribly connected to like anything larger than me. I'd never been religious, never been spiritual. And I'd say it was the closest to like a spiritual thing for me.
I think it is a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
I think it's an undeniably spiritual thing. And that's the thing about it, is like it forces you to think about love and connection and the bonds that people have with each other in a way that you don't get from anything else. The powerful experience of a transcendent psychedelic moment is it's not like anything else you experience in life, other than maybe like a near-death experience.
Yeah.
But you could argue that they're the same thing. I know people that have had near-death experiences that swear that it was like a DMT trip.
I'm sure. And I don't think it's confirmed, but people say that it's what happens when you legally die or medically die. It's like you have a DMT trip.
Yeah,
and I could see that.
But it's not confirmed, but there's a lot of there's a lot of evidence that points to that.
I could see that. And it in a way made me like less fearful of death, because I was like, if this is what happens at the end, it's a great feeling.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it going out like that. Like you just get this, for me at least, when I first was hitting it, and then like you start to leave the planet, I felt like this intense like set of rings going around my body, like of just warmth and like happiness and love. And then all of a sudden I'm like in space. And I did see an elf, which is what people call them. There's
What'd they look like?
Kind of like a court jester, and it had like slinky long arms. And it sounds like crackhead shit if you've never done DMT.
I know
not
bunch
to
of court
you,
jesters
but
too.
a lot of people have a shared like physical description of what these things look like.
One of my most profound experiences, there was a bunch of court jesters give me the finger.
Just flipping you off.
They're like, fuck you, like openly mocking me. And I was like, what?
Killing your ego.
I realized I take myself too seriously. Like as they were doing it, I was like, I know what you're saying. And they went like this. Like
chill out.
That's it. I got it. Like while they were doing it, I was like, oh, I get it. And they're like, mm-hmm.
That's the thing, is like a common experience, people who meet the elves or the jesters, whatever you want to call them, they have like something to like teach you.
Yeah.
So for me, it was kind of similar to learning not to take myself seriously, but it was more so, don't take life so fucking seriously.
Right.
Trust the process of life, because I'm someone who, even though I like to think I have my life pretty together, I still worry about everything so much all the time. I'm always stressed out. And the elf was telling me, like, does everything have to be a fight, Blair? Is everything a war?
Whoa.
Are you worried about everything? Like, kind of clowning me a little bit, literally, because it's kind of clownish. Like, really, is everything that serious?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'll just chill out. Yeah. It was like that simple. I was like, okay, I'll chill.
It's good that you can grasp that and have that experience and learn from it, because a lot of people can't, and that's when they have bad trips, because they try to fight it and they try to resist. No, I'm not fighting anything, and then all of a sudden you're in this fucking death spiral.
That was my mistake with shrooms. I did shrooms about a year ago. It was actually when I was evacuating LA because of the riots. Went up with some friends in the mountains. Let's do shrooms. And it was my first time doing it. And the person who was supplying said shrooms basically gave me a huge plate like this big, stacked it, covered it in shrooms, and said, eat all of them, which is very irresponsible for someone's first time. I don't know. I just know it was a plate covered in shrooms.
Show me the size of the plate. Give me an example. Oh my God! So this is
It was like a dinner plate.
Like when you go to like Ruth's Chris and have a steak.
Yes. Yes, but it was shrooms. And I have never done shrooms in my life. I had no, because until you do a psychedelic, you have no concept of a psychedelic.
Right.
Like weed isn't anything close to it, not even the same planet. So I ate all of it. We walked down to the water, and then the whole world changed. But the difference between shrooms and DMT is like, to me, with shrooms, you're still on Earth, even though Earth's heavily distorted and.
That's because you have your eyes open and you're walking around.
That's true. DMT, you leave Earth.
If you were in silent darkness, if you were alone by yourself in the dark and you were laying down on mushrooms and you just closed your eyes, it'd be very similar.
Oh, okay. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
We were walking around, and there's something about doing it. Like, we were in this neighborhood in Big Bear with all these like cabins, and like I started getting so freaked out that everyone was just watching from their houses, and it was me and 5 people. And so we were all tripping, walking back to the cabin from the water, holding hands, and walking slowly. Like,
oh my God.
And I was like, are people looking? Are people looking?
They probably are. Look at these freaks holding hands.
No, yeah, for
tripping
sure.
balls.
And we were all like social media people or whatever. We were like, people are gonna film this. It's gonna be on YouTube tomorrow.
Wow, be fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been ashamed.
It's not the best idea to do that publicly. A lot of people wind up doing that. They do it publicly and they trip balls and they walk around. But
or to eat a whole fucking plate.
Yeah.
I should have had one little shroom.
That's a good way to start.
Yeah.
A good way to start is like one, and you get like a little feeling, maybe like a gram, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Before you want to get into like the 3 to 5 gram, like yikes.
I think it's also very important to do it when you're maybe in a good place in life. Like I would never want to do it if I was in a bad place. Like when I did shrooms, half of my trip was really, really scary and really bad because I was in a bad mindset. Like LA was on fire. I was escaping. I felt unsure about the world. Right before we tripped, it was like a news report, like Trump going into a bunker as protesters ascend upon the White House. And I was like, let me escape this. I don't think it's good to use it like as escapism, shrooms.
Did Trump have to go to a bunker? Is that real?
I think he denied it after that, but I remember in DC when it was the riots happening, and I think they moved Trump to a safe place. I'm sure he would deny it, but when I did DMT, I did it very recently, and I'm in like one of the best places of my life recently. Like I'm in a new city that I'm actually really enjoying, even though it was a tough transition at first. Been through a couple of those. But I'm just very happy, so I wasn't escaping anything. I was like, teach me what you have to teach me.
Right.
Yeah. And then the second time I went even farther. But
it's very bizarre that it's so there. It's so easy to get to. It's just 15 seconds away. It's one of the most insane experiences that a human being could possibly encounter.
Yeah.
If there was a thing that you could, like a ride at Disneyland, it would be a mile long line to get into that fucking thing.
Right.
Everybody would be like, oh, I want to go on that ride.
Right.
Because it's so fucking crazy.
Yeah. And just the fact that, I don't know. So I had a lot of resistance towards ever trying psychedelics for a while because I did grow up in a household where everyone was addicted to drugs, and my brother was in prison for selling drugs and heroin and all that kind of shit, right? So I was like, I'm never going to do a drug. But then like, I just see psychedelics a bit different. It's not meth. It's not any of that shit. It's different.
They are very, very, very different.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. And like, it's really hard to even articulate what the trip is with DMT specifically without ever doing it. So like, people were telling me about the elves, and I was like, y'all are crackheads. Don't tell me about some fucking elves I'm about to meet.
The problem with the term drug is it's a blanket term that you could use for caffeine, you use for nicotine, you use for alcohol. Yeah, there's a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
Adrenaline's a drug.
And while I'm sure it's possible, I can't imagine after now doing DMT twice, I can't imagine someone becoming like addicted to it.
Oh, I wouldn't know about that. I know a guy who was a tattoo artist that was doing DMT every fucking day, multiple times a day. And then finally the entities had to sit him down and go, hey, motherfucker, stop. Like, you're going to lose your grip on this world.
Wow.
Yeah. They literally told him to stop doing it, he said.
See, it's such an intense experience for me that I couldn't imagine wanting that every day. It's kind of like I did it and I'm good for a while.
This guy's an intense guy.
That's fucking nuts.
He's a wild dude. He's an artist who does biomech tattoos. You know, that biomech type of art? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Biomech. See if you can Google like biomech art. My buddy has a sleeve done by this dude. His art's incredible.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
But his is more like that, exactly like that. So it's like almost like alien.
That's cool.
Yeah, like that kind of shit. That's a certain style of tattooing called biomech, and this dude was he is still elite at it.
That's a cool thing to specialize in, that type of tattoo.
Yeah, that's a little different. That's not quite. That's more like it. That
Wow.
kind of. It's all this weird sort of alien looking, fucking trippy shit.
I would imagine you have to be an intense guy to even know how to do that. So.
Yeah, well, it's also to specialize in that one particular style of art. It's like his vision of life was like all fucked up and distorted and twisted.
One of the people I did DMT with wasn't told to like not do DMT anymore by the elves, but was told like, you don't have to come back anymore, almost in a gentle way. Like we came out of our trips and the friend was like, they told me I don't have to come back anymore. I'm like, how many times have you done it? He's like, 9. I'm like, maybe take a break then.
I've done it 9. I've done it more than 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I haven't done it a couple of years though, so maybe I could get back in there and have a conversation. But like I said, the last time that I did it was probably the most intense and the most weird, because when they were giving me the finger. But it was like, I've never like, but it's just, I think sometimes what people do and what I've certainly done is you protect yourself from criticism, or you protect yourself from your own analysis of your correct and incorrect thoughts and actions by bullshitting yourself. And one of the ways that you realize if you're bullshitting yourself is like, how do you react to satire? How do you react to being mocked? How do you react to people not taking you seriously? Do you go, that's their prerogative, good luck? Or do you go, fuck them, I'm going to fucking make a response video. Whoa.
Right.
And the aliens, or the whatever they were, the jesters, and they all had the little bells, the little hats with the bells.
Yeah, it's so crazy. They look like little courtyard.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
But they were going like this, fuck you, and they were
That's
like
hilarious.
openly mocking me. And my initial response was, hey. And then I realized like, oh, and they were like, that's it. You got it. I was like,
They're
all right,
kind of sarcastic.
Oh, yeah. Well, they know your bullshit. They know all of your nonsense. They know all of your thoughts. They know, whatever the fuck they are, whether they're a part of your consciousness or whether these are intelligent entities in another dimension that you're interacting with.
See, that is what I've been questioning since doing this. So I was told by a friend who's done DMT a lot that after you do DMT, pay attention to the real world. And if you believe that the elves are real beings that are independent of something created in your own brain due to the DMT, they'll like send you a sign, right? And I was like, again, crackhead shit. No, I'm not going to meet the elves in real life, right?
Right.
So one of the things in my first trip that they kept telling me was, this is not the end. This is not the end. They kept telling me that because I think I was asking them, like, is this what happens when you die? Like, what is this? They said the phrase, this is not the end, multiple times. Directly after the trip, we go to a restaurant. And I wasn't liking the energy. Like, there's like a glow after you do DMT that you kind of want to maintain. And I didn't like the energy in the first restaurant. So I was like, let's leave. Went to another restaurant.
What was wrong with the energy?
The people were just weird. I don't know. It's like you create like a bubble when you do it with like friends. And you're like, I don't like what they might do to our bubble. So then we go to another restaurant. And there's a huge sign that just says, this is not the end on the thing. And I'm like,
whoa.
What? And then I looked at my friend who told me to look for signs. And he's like, told ya.
Whoa.
So I'm like, I'm not saying that I think that they really are beings. I'm going back and forth between that.
Episode number 1351. Joe Rogan says DMT opens a whole other dimension, making UFOs seem ordinary, and may explain ancient mystical visions.
One of the things that, this is interesting, one of the things that shied me away from UFOs was DMT. Because it was so profound. It was so crazy that if a UFO landed right in front of my house, I'd be like, yeah, it's not DMT though. Because DMT was a completely different dimension, and there were things there. Then one of the things that's...
You were in a controlled environment, you were with friends, you were...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the
were
things
you seated? Were you in nature? Were you
seated in the house?
Okay.
In my house.
Yeah,
I've
and
done
you
it in
took
other
how
people's
much?
houses. Well, you take 3 giant hits.
Who makes that stuff?
I can't tell you.
That's not something you can buy.
They shut down your sci-fi show for talking about aliens.
No, that's right. DMT has there's some prejudice against it, and you can't get that at the drugstore.
It's in thousands of plants. It's literally in almost every plant in nature. In fact, one of the universities in Israel believes that it was responsible for the burning bush that Moses got the 10 Commandments from.
Yeah.
That they think that burning bush was actually the acacia tree. And the acacia tree is rich in DMT.
And it burst into flame and he inhaled the vapor.
Exactly. They think
saw
that
God.
They think that this is just a problem with translation. Is that this idea of the burning bush, like, oh, there was a burning bush. Well, maybe they figured out a way to extract the dimethyltryptamine from the acacia tree or this acacia bush as well, and that they took this small amount of dimethyltryptamine from this fire and inhaled it and had this profound religious experience like I've experienced, like many people who experience that have taken it. And I think that one thing that happens when you do this is you're confronted with entities. Now, I don't know what these things are, but they seem to be communicating with you, and they seem to be talking to you, and they seem to know everything about you. So the question is, like, is that really your subconscious? Is this what you know about yourself stripped down to some very bare, raw form, and then confronted with these psychedelics that perturb your visual cortex? So they provide you with all these intense visualizations, or is it a chemical portal to another dimension?
Were they effulgent beings, light beings?
The way I describe them is they're complex geometric patterns made out of love and understanding, and that they're communicating with you.
Sounds like, H.P. Lovecraft was a wonderful writer, and he describes in
Time Machine.
No, that was H.G. Wells. But H.P. Lovecraft, he wrote the Cthulhu, the Dunwich Horror, and the books about Cthulhu.
That's right, the Cthulhu.
And he kind of walked out of his life and disappeared from his family and all that. But
where'd he go?
Well, they kind of went out for cigarettes and kind of never came back. But
no one ever found him again?
Well, no, I think they found him, but he had vanished for a while. H.P. Lovecraft, maybe look up grave or the demise. But he wrote about geometric shapes. He wrote about interdimensional geometric shapes and getting to a space where you saw the universe in terms of geometry and diamond shaped things and multi patterns and colors. And
do you know the artist Alex Gray? Do you know who
I
he
don't.
is? Alex Gray is a beautiful artist. I mean, amazing guy. And he all of his stuff is tryptamine based artwork. Pull up some Alex Gray stuff so you can see it. It literally, when you see it, you go, "Oh, that I recognize that. I recognize the."
How long was your voyage?
All of them are about 15 minutes to 20 minutes long, depending upon. This is all Alex Gray stuff.
Oh, beautiful! Look at that.
Pull up the one with that one down on the very bottom in the middle.
There's
the
a couple
red
of skulls.
one. Yeah, look at that. That's very similar to what it feels like when you do dimethyltryptamine. And Alex has had.
Wow!
Uncountable
just if
number
I
of
dropped a little
experiences.
purple barrel right now and just looked
right.
at that, I'd have a nice afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice.
Well, a lot of the most profound psychedelic experiences are the compounds. They mimic normal human neurochemistry. Dimethyltryptamine is it's a natural occurring compound in the human brain. It's produced by your liver, your lungs, and there's a lot of evidence, at least in mammals, it's produced by your pineal gland, which is literally your third eye.
That's right. I did DMT way back. I think I was in high school or something.
Whoa.
Something. And I think I was at a motorcycle ice race or something while doing it. So that was...
A motorcycle ice race and DMT.
Yeah.
You're living on the edge in high school, man. This goddamn Canadian.
Well, that's what the, motorcycle ice racing, you get a little small bike like a Jawa CZ and you put the metal rims with the studs and then you race around the ice. I never did it, but I saw it and I think that's why I went to it. My friend said, "Hey, take one of these. We'll have a better time." So I didn't see any beings, but the race was fun.
Take one how? Orally? How did you take it?
He said it was a pill. It was a cap.
Oh, that doesn't work.
No, you have to inject it.
No, you need to freebase it. See,
smoke
DMT
it.
is
right.
Your body produces...
He said it was a cap. He gave it to me in like the size of a horse cap.
Right.
Maybe it was horse trank, and I never know. He said it was DMT.
It's not. Well, if it was, it doesn't work because your body produces monoamine oxidase, And the only way that DMT works orally is if you take an MAO inhibitor. This is what ayahuasca is.
I didn't have that with it.
Yeah, see, ayahuasca is what the indigenous people of the Amazon have figured out is how to take DMT with harmine.
From the plants.
Right, and harmine is a naturally occurring MAO inhibitor. So that's how you could take it orally. It's also why the experience is not as intense, but it's longer. Yeah. And many people find it more spiritual because you can relax. You can fall into the experience.
Yeah, Jimmy's done the ayahuasca.
Yeah, but it's not in a capsule form. He dosed you up with something else.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I guess that was something. Yeah, who knows back then?
Who knows? Could have been psilocybin. Well, psilocybin converts in the body to something very similar to DMT. The DMT is the chemical compound is dimethyltryptamine, but something happens in the body's production of DMT or the body's breaking down of DMT where it produces something called 4-phoroloxy-NM dimethyltryptamine. This is out of psilocybin. So maybe he gave you psilocybin pills, which is real common. That's real common.
Yeah, could be. But usually if I were to take psilocybin, I'd just eat the mushroom.
Yes. A lot of people take them in capsule form, though, so they can get exact dosages.
I remember sprinkling it on my cereal once.
What?
Yeah, and then going to deliver the mail.
Yeah, my friend took them in peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. He just
I ate a bowl of psilocybin, and then I went and picked up my mail truck, and yeah, I was a Royal Mail courier.
Oh, Jesus.
That was an interesting morning.
Did you get everybody's mail to the right place?
Oh, yeah, fast.
But that's one of the things that made me more open to the idea of extraterrestrials, but more closed off to the ideas of these stories that people tell. Because I felt like these stories that people tell were so crude. It was almost like they were trying to facsimilate this real experience. They were trying to recreate it in their mind. And the other thing about these abduction experiences is that almost all of them happen at night. And a lot of them happen while people are asleep. And during sleep is when they believe your body's generating dimethyltryptamine. They believe that DMT is also responsible for dreams.
But, you know, the Linda Cortia case is pretty compelling. She comes out of the apartment, she's grabbed by an orange orb, and then...
What time was this?
This was in the evening, early evening.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The night...
Episode number 540, Joe Rogan discusses DMT, ayahuasca, and the intense otherworldly experiences they produce.
Ayahuasca, but I've done DMT many times. I did it again recently. Did it last weekend. And the DMT experience is essentially what ayahuasca is an orally active version of DMT.
Okay.
Because the Amazon shaman and the people
But it's derived...
It's from two different plants.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know the first thing about this stuff.
DMT is dimethyltryptamine, and it exists in thousands of different plants. And the reason why you don't get it, like you don't get high when you eat it, is because your stomach produces monoamine oxidase. So monoamine oxidase, what you need to do is take an inhibitor so that you could get it in an orally active form. So most of the time, when most people get DMT, what they're getting is the synthesized version, where they've taken Cochia viridis or all these different plants, they've extracted it down to the DMT, and then you smoke it. And what they do in the Amazon is
it's regulated in the U.S. or not?
It's illegal.
Oh,
Schedule 1. Yeah. The issue with Schedule 1, with it being a drug, though, is that it exists in so many different forms. You would have to make grass illegal. Like if you had phalaris grass growing in your front lawn, you essentially have a Schedule 1 drug growing on your lawn in massive quantities. So it can't be enforced. It's a weird, but if they find the powder, if they find it synthesized and turned into a powder that you could smoke and freebase, then it's illegal, and then it's a Schedule 1 drug. But it exists in your own human neurochemistry. It's like making saliva illegal.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Literally that ridiculous. The Amazon shaman have figured out a way to take the vine of one plant and the root and the leaves of another, and they boil them together. So essentially, they use harmine, which is a natural MAO inhibitor, and they combine it with this plant, and they boil it into this potion, and that's what ayahuasca is. So it's DMT and an MAO inhibitor together in this elixir. You drink it, and you have what's close to the smoked DMT experience as you can get, but not quite as potent.
But it's not. There's not a synthetic version
of ayahuasca.
No. Well, it's all extracted from plants. Like DMT is not like they don't produce it in labs?
I think you can produce it in a lab.
Oh, okay.
I think you can, but the precursors of it are very tightly controlled by the DEA. Like you can't, like if they found out that you were buying a certain amount of this chemical that you would use to make the synthetic version of it, they would flag you.
Gotcha.
But the plants are legal. So you could go online. There was a guy that got arrested, and they took all of his money and locked him up in jail. Because I think it was called Happy Frog or something like that. One of the name of his company. I don't remember the name of his company, but he sold all these legal plants. But the plants were all totally legal, but he sold them with the pretense that you could take these plants and extract DMT from them, and then he was arrested for that.
Because he was putting A and B together for you.
Yeah. He was allowing you to find the source to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But even though what he was selling was legal, I think he got off. I'm kind of speaking out of school here because it was a few years back, and I didn't totally pay too much attention to it, but it is in so many different sources.
And it's a hallucinogenic.
Yes. It's a human neurotransmitter and an incredibly potent drug that's also the most transient drug ever exist, or one of the most transient drugs ever observed. So if you get, like if you smoke DMT, like I did it, like I said, last week, you're blasted to the center of the universe for about 15 minutes, and then you're back to baseline. Like you're completely sober in 15 minutes. Because your body knows exactly what to do with it. Yeah. Your body knows exactly what to do with it because it's such a normal part of your chemistry that your body can bring it back to baseline within minutes. It's weird. It's the weirdest shit ever. And the weirdest aspect of it is while you're blown out in this intense psychedelic state, you immediately think, I'm here all the time. I've been here before.
Oh, is that right?
I know what this is. It's not unfamiliar. It's completely alien, but yet familiar at the same time. So Doty, in all those ayahuasca experiences that he had when he was talking about all these flashbacks and all this craziness, what happens is you open up this, it's a weird effect where if you do DMT and you have these powerful experiences, you open up this door. And I don't know what the chemical effect of it is or what the mechanism is, but something happens when you open up that door where you can open up that door again, even in a dream. And so the speculation is that what happens when people have like near-death experiences, when people have alien abduction experiences, when people have these crazy things they say happen to them, most likely what it is some sort of a weird endogenous dump of DMT. Like, you know how something can happen to you and you get this crazy adrenaline rush?
Yeah,
they believe that it's possible that something can happen to you and you get a crazy DMT rush. And that it's very difficult to access, but that it's a function of the brain
and
itself.
It's causing you to, for lack of a better word, it's causing you to trip.
Yes.
But you might perceive it as a memory.
You could perceive it it feels as real, if not more real, than reality itself, because it's intensely colored and brightly lit, and there's no borders to things, but yet there are. It's very, very, very difficult to describe. I'm doing a terrible job of describing it. And all around you, it's alive with entities, and these entities are communicating with you both with sound and with visual cues. It's a very, very, very weird trip. Like you think in a negative way, or if you try to control it, they'll like literally shake their finger at you and go no 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 no. But then if you get it right, it calms down. Like it's like a lesson in how to think. It's a very, very bizarre trip. The most bizarre out of all the psychedelics by far. The way I describe it is mushrooms times 1,000,000 plus aliens.
Yeah,
it's the mandala. It's the center of the mandala of all. This is how McKenna described it. The mandala of all the different psychedelic experiences. The center of it. The literally the fucking point zero. The event horizon of that is DMT.
In episode number 1227, Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson share intense DMT experiences and wonder why such a powerful substance remains illegal.
What kind of music you listening to?
I listen to everything, man. Yeah. I do. I listen to a lot of classic rock for whatever reason. But I've been listening to a lot of Kanye West over the last few weeks.
Tell me, what he's talking about?
Kanye?
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about a lot of crazy shit. He actually talked about DMT in one of his recent songs.
Really? You think he did that before?
I think he did.
Oh, man.
Well, I know he's friends with Kid Cudi.
Mm-hmm.
Kid Cudi's been in here, and Kid Cudi's had some psychedelic experiences.
Yeah. Once you go there, it's just you don't want to do nothing else again.
Well, it puts it all in the perspective. It lets you see that as much as this thing seems to be important, this is all temporary, and you're a part of forever.
And it also allows you to become comfortable with death.
Yeah. Yeah, you know who said that? Larry Hagman. Remember that guy Dallas?
Yeah.
From JR from
JR
Dallas?
from Dallas.
He did an interview with CNN once.
And I Dream of Genie as well.
Yeah, that's right. He sprung it on him on CNN once. He was talking about how he did acid. He took a big dose of acid, and he's never worried about death ever again. That it just alleviated his worry about passing on.
That's wild. It's just that because I felt the same way. And I said, wow, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. I think DMT even more specifically because they think
why does it affect the mind that way? What causes it to affect the mind that way?
They don't totally know.
That it make it visionate. You visualize everything.
They don't totally know. They know that your brain makes it. They know that your body makes it, they should say. They know that it's produced in your liver and their lungs, and there's some evidence now because they found it in rats that the pineal gland produces it, which is that's the third eye of Eastern mysticism. That gland actually in rats, they've proven, produces DMT, and they think it does so in people too.
Once I did, I wanted to do it again and again and again. And they said, you shouldn't do it too much, Mike. But I was like, man, I got to, grasp what's going on here. Why am I feeling this? Like, why did this, in a weird way, humbled you?
I don't think you should listen to the people who say you shouldn't do it too much. I think you should do it as much as you want.
That's what I agree with, too.
Yeah.
I agree.
You could handle it. If you could handle being Mike Tyson, you can handle doing DMT a few times.
DMT, yeah, that's where I think I'm going. I think I'm going in that direction.
Well, I mean, it's not something you should do all day, every day, but you can learn a lot from it. It's very beneficial and very strange that it's illegal. It's illegal.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Even though, Terrence McKenna had a joke about it because your body's making it, so everybody's holding. We all have it. It's illegal, but it's like making blood illegal. Everybody has it.
Isn't it wild when they go to Sonora Desert when they find these toads?
Yeah. Yeah, I've never experienced it from the toad. I've only
watched
experienced
it on television.
With the way they extract it?
Yeah, they grab him and they squeeze it. They bust his pimples and they bust it on the glass or mirror and then they take it off and they let it harden.
Yeah, they let it dry in the sun. They scrape it off with a razor blade.
Yes.
I've only had it synthetically made in a laboratory. You used to be able to buy it online. You used to be able to buy a fucking can of it, like this big, enough to get a whole state high. You just buy it online. It was totally legal.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's bizarre that it's illegal.
Well, they would say not for human consumption. Well, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with it if you're not using it for human consumption. But you used to be able to buy it.
I've never felt anything like that before.
No, nothing like that.
Makes me not want to do anything. Nothing else can supersede that.
How long ago did it happen?
I don't know, around 2 months ago.
Yeah. Did you write down what happened after it happened, or did you record it?
No, I wish I did.
Yeah.
I wish I did.
Yeah, me too. If it goes away like a dream, right?
It comes off, you're so scared that, it starts off like this to me, like, no, yeah! That's how I start. No, I don't want to be this. I said, hey, I want this to stop now. And the guy was like, hey, you're on the ride. And I'm like, no, yeah! I love it. I love you.
Yeah, you love everybody.
Yeah, so spazzed out.
Yeah. Did you have a hard time letting go?
At the beginning, I was fighting it. I was saying, stop. I wanted to stop now. Just stop this shit now. Stop. And the guy was like, hey, the show was like, I can't do it. You got to go for the ride, dude. And it was like, oh, man. It's like I'm dying. Things are going on my face. I'm seeing the Aztec things. I'm seeing toads. I'm just seeing weird animals and things. They're just flying. It's like another chamber. It's boom, flashing. You're like, boom.
Yeah.
And you gone. It's like a rocket. You taking off. Boom.
Yeah, it's beyond your imagination.
Yeah, it's inconceivable. Can't even explain it to no one.
Well, I'm hoping that they start with psilocybin because I know MAPS, they're doing some great work with that, trying to get these things legalized, especially they're doing MDMA studies with veterans and people with PTSD, and they're having great results. They're moving into psilocybin. They would love to get psilocybin legal, and it's up for ballot. I think it was in Oregon. Is that where it is? It's up for. I think Oregon is up for legalization this year, and it may be eventually in California as well. They may.
How you think they're gonna do with that?
It should be legal. It doesn't kill anybody. It should be. It's not a bad thing if they regulate it. If they make it for therapeutic use and just set up centers where experts can show, but they shouldn't make it prohibitive for people to own it or even grow their own. It's not a bad idea to set up places where people can do it under a professional's care, a shaman's care, a physician's care. That's a good idea. But making it illegal is a bad idea because it helps a lot of people. You know, people think of it as a party drug. They think you're going to do mushrooms and freak out and go fucking run around naked and, what's on mushrooms?
I used to do mushrooms. I love mushrooms. I love mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, psilocybin and DMT are very closely related chemically. All those really potent psychedelic drugs are very closely related. They all break down in some similar path inside your brain and give you that weird ego-dissolving experience. You know, that's one thing.
Yeah, most of episode number 982, Joe Rogan and his guest talk about intense DMT plus weed experiences and whether the visions are real or imagined.
Active when you smoke it.
Okay.
So like when you're smoking pot, your body's not producing the 11-hydroxy metabolite. But when you process it with your liver, your body produces this intense psychedelic drug. Like you can have, when you eat weed and then close your eyes, you have some of the craziest fucking visuals that match up there. As long as you have enough, they go up right up to everything. They go right up to mushrooms. You can have like these mini DMT trips if you.
Oh, I smoked DMT with weed once.
Ooh.
It was insane.
Ooh.
How about that?
It changed my life.
When did you do
Did
this?
it really?
This is a couple years ago.
Oh.
And a good friend of mine. And I took one hit and it was like 0 to 100. It was just like you exhaled and then you just take off. And I mean, I'd never smoked DMT before and I'm very sensitive to weed. So I was high for like 2-3 hours. I was so, and at one point we were sitting on a balcony and I was watching the street and it flipped into like negative, like a photograph, like the colors changed.
Wait a minute. This is like you smoked the DMT and then how many minutes later is this happening?
This was in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So that
you
was
were
when it was
still,
most intense. Yeah.
So you kept your eyes open.
Oh, yeah. Should I
Whoa.
close my eyes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, tell me how to do it. I don't know.
It sounds like you took a small dose if you took one hit.
No, I took a couple hits.
You took a
but
couple
my
hits.
first hit, it was just like
So right
literally
away.
like, it was like Star Wars when it just goes into warp speed.
Yeah.
Where you're like, it was insane. And
DMT's got a weird threshold thing that happens. And it's
Yeah,
like
tell me everything.
3 hits in.
what happened to
There's
me?
something about three hits in is when reality dissolves. For most people, that's what they say, 3 hits.
Okay.
And if you took like 1 or 2, you get crazy visuals, you get weird, freaky stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't go to the alien dimension.
Yes, I did.
You did.
I totally
so
did.
You took enough. So did you close your eyes while you were there, or did you
No,
have
I
them
could.
open?
Well, it was nighttime, so I could see the stars.
Wow.
And at one point, I went completely deaf.
Ooh.
All the sounds just went, and I was watching a moving street, and I couldn't hear anything. Whoa. It was intense.
How high up were you?
Just a couple stories.
Were you worried about freaking out and trying to fly?
No. I was on the ride.
Ooh.
Wait, tell
That's
me
the
more.
That's the big fear, right? The big fear is like someone taking a psychedelic and they're on a balcony. Like Bill Hicks used to have a bit about that.
Okay.
Young man on acid, thought he could fly, leapt tragically to his death.
Oh, that's
What a
that's
tragedy.
scary.
He goes, what a dick.
Still here.
He goes, if you thought he could fly, why didn't he take off from the ground first? He goes, we just lost a moron.
That's awful. Oh, boy.
It was great.
Oh, God.
And then he had a positive drug story. Yeah, which you never do here. Yeah. It is interesting. I don't like to say that the news is fake because it's not fake. It's like they're doing the best they can. They vet themselves the best they can, and they definitely fuck up. And definitely people get ambitious. But it is kind of interesting that they only tell you like sanctioned things. Like you're never going to see like a whole Fox News article on the benefits of psychedelic drugs and how it could change your consciousness
Right.
and how Suzanne smoked pot with Duncan Trussell with DMT laced in it, and they went on
It was not
a
Duncan
journey
Trussell.
but it could be. You know what I'm saying?
I
mean,
did take mushrooms with Duncan once, though.
I'm sure.
It was amazing. It was
you
the,
haven't,
it
you
was
haven't
the first.
lived.
It was like the first time I'd ever like really been high on mushrooms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I saw my grandfather.
Ooh, that's intense.
Yeah, we should talk about that another time.
I saw my grandfather once on weed. Ooh, I ate an edible and then had a dream. and the dream was really intense, and I was talking to my grandfather. It was really weird. Like, I hadn't seen him in forever. You know, he died when I was in my 20s. And
did it feel real?
Oh yeah.
Did you guys spend a lot of time together when he was alive?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, he was. He used to take me fishing and stuff like that. He was a really nice guy, and it just took care of my grandmother for the last like 12 years of her life. She had a stroke, and then he had to take care of her for like a long time. She had an aneurysm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I lived with them at that time because I'd moved from Boston to New York. I didn't have a place to stay, so I lived with my grandfather and my grandmother in New Jersey, and it was just a super dark time. But
how old were you?
24.
Oh wow,
somewhere around then, and it made me realize, like, really intensely, that this life does not last. Like, and that you have to really be appreciative of health and your movement, your ability to move, and your ability to experience things.
Totally.
And it just seems it seems like such a given. And because it's such a given and we get wrapped up in so many different things, it's super easy to lose touch with that. You know, to be happy. Like, I was talking to a really good friend of mine who's going through a divorce, and he started getting all bummed out about it and this and that. And I was like, look, man, you are so lucky. You're happy. You're healthy. You're alive. You have a bunch of great friends. Like, you're going to be fine. Like, this is all going to be fine. Like, this is like a little journey you're going to go through. And it's all in, like, how you look at it, how you approach this journey, how you're going to come out of it on the other end. But being a young guy and living with my grandmother when she was dying, and my grandfather when he had to take care of her, and seeing the both of them like struggle, it was intense.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you feel like when you had this psychedelic experience where you saw your grandfather, like, does that, to you, is that like a real experience of him being somewhere else and communicating with you, or?
It's probably just an ego trip. It's probably just me thinking that I could recreate my memory. But what was interesting about it is the memories were so intense. They were so realistic. They were like my grandfather. Like, he used to talk and like he used to behave. He was always a very, very gentle man, a very gentle guy with a very like easy way about him. Like, he was a really interesting guy. And he was like that in the dream. He was that guy in the dream.
Well, it makes sense too if you go through a really impactful time. It just digs those grooves deep.
I'm sure.
In your brain.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's wild.
And I had it once with Phil Hartman too. Super intense. The Phil Hartman one was super intense. It was years after he died, like maybe more than 10. And in the dream, he was sitting in a lawn chair. And somehow or another, he was telling me what life was like after his wife had killed himself, or killed him and then killed herself. It was really intense. And I was like, somehow or another, I was talking to him from this like next stage of existence. But the next stage of existence, it wasn't heaven, and it wasn't the DMT dimension. It was like a picnic. It was like there was a lawn, and it was like a bunch of people hanging out, and he was just laughing and joking around and being jovial about things. And he was just talking about, we talked about that. Like, about him and the wife after she shot him and killed him. He was like joking around in my dream.
That's incredible.
We had to have a conversation about that.
Wow.
You know, it was like, wow. It was so crazy. It was so intense because it was so real, and it was him. And he fell backwards in his chair, like laughing. Like, fell backwards in his chair, almost like a pratfall. And then he was gone.
What?
And then the dream was gone. And then it all went away, and I woke up. Because it was so intense, I woke up. And I was like, whoa, that really felt like I was talking to Phil. Like, it didn't feel like just a memory. It really felt like I was talking to Phil. Huh. But again, what is that? Is that an ego trip? Is that your imagination?
No,
is that
I believe
your memory?
in that stuff.
Do you?
I do.
Are you all in?
I am. I'm in because I've had experience. No, I mean, I think there's a lot of bullshit with. You need to be skeptical from the external people that try to tell you stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But I've definitely had people help me understand what all that shit means when I've had dreams like that.
Yeah.
With my deceased relatives, and they told me things, and then they happened, and yeah, it could be your ego, but I
don't think that makes it less real though. If it's your ego or your mind creating a scenario with a loved one or whatever. That's I don't think that's less real than the idea of this spirit re-embodying, I don't know, some sort of physical form or whatever. I think it's both. They're both kind of valid.
And it's energy. I think it's an exchange of energy, and we've definitely been in places where we felt like not alone. And we weren't high. We were, you have those moments where like your instincts and your intuition are like aware of external things that you can't see, but you can feel, and maybe you can see them. We've seen a ghost once.
Can I just address what you just said though? Mm-hmm. But there is a difference, right? There is a difference because one of them is your imagination and one of them is you talking to a ghost. There's a huge difference because one of them, it means ghosts are real. And the other one, it just means your imagination is real, which we're absolutely 100% aware of, right? So we know people have ridiculous imaginations. They dream and imagine things constantly.
Sure. Right.
So there is a big difference between the two of them because one of them gives you a view into a mystical world that doesn't in the eyes of science. It doesn't seem to make sense, right? It doesn't seem to want to exist. If there's another world where people can come back from the dead and talk to you and have conversations with you. But one of the arguments that I've always used with psychedelic drugs is that if you feel like in a psychedelic experience you went to heaven and had a conversation with God, or you went to another dimension and talked to the infinite wisdom that controls the cells of the universe, if you did do that, or if you took the drugs and felt like you did that, it's the same experience. Like that's the difference. It's like, I don't know if God's real, and I don't know what the fuck happens when you take psychedelic drugs, but god damn, it feels similar.
Sure.
Like there's moments where you have intense psychedelic trips where you really do believe you're in the presence of like this pure wisdom and pure love that sees you in a way that is undeniable and you can't argue it.
I think it's a gateway. I don't know. I think sometimes it's your ego, sometimes it's some weird shit in your brain, and sometimes I think it's real. I think it's very complicated.
It is complicated, but my point is they're the same experience. If you're talking to God or if you're talking to your imagination that creates this God, it's for that brief moment in those 15 minutes, it's the same experience. Now, I don't know if that's enough, but that's something. Like, I don't know, like, what your old time on Earth is just time, right? Your time on Earth is just, you have a limited, finite amount. You got 100 years if you're fucking super lucky and you got good genes, and that's a wrap, right? So this is just, we have this little time thing. But during those 15 minutes, which is a small amount of time, but the whole life's small, during those 15 minutes, you are absolutely experiencing something divine. Now, is that in your imagination? Is that you finding some portal to another dimension? Is that the reason why your brain produces these chemicals in the first place? Is because we transition during the time of death into this new realm? Is that it?
But if your concept of what divinity is includes all of that stuff, it gets to be both, right?
Sure, but I mean, like, there's a real problem with defining something that you just can't define. Like the whole problem with psychedelic trips, I don't know, like I don't know if for you guys feel this way, but for me, it's always like, whenever I tell somebody about it, I'm like why even use words? Like the words don't work.
Right.
They're not enough. They're not enough. You could scramble them together and say them perfect and scream it from a rooftop.
When you use the words too, it can almost like demean the experience, or
diminish,
just diminish. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, that's when we're kind of pushing against the limits of language.
Episode number 544, Joe Rogan talks with Dom Herrera about DMT, our tiny place in the universe, and how psychedelic trips shatter ego and shift perspective.
I mean, I can't, like when you said something one time, I think we were sitting on stage, and about, we have no control over our journey through space as a planet.
Yeah.
And the thing that's interesting to me is we have absolutely no control. I mean, if this planet just dropped for some gravitational reason, there's nothing we could do.
What if it just started falling?
That's what I'm saying.
Just like there's a whole solar
like
system,
a comet.
Everything's spinning, and our planet just drops.
What would we do? I mean, we're going, oh, fuck.
Get in my spaceship.
Somebody put something in my drink?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, we're fleas.
That's
fleas
why,
on a dog.
That's what cracks me up about people who are so full of themselves. I'm thinking, what are you fucking cocky for? We don't even know what we're doing here.
That's what they tell you when you do DMT. That's what those things are doing when they're giving you the finger. They're like, you fucking idiot. You take yourself seriously?
Wouldn't it be cool if it was always there? Those guys are always around you, and the only thing that psychedelics does is speed down your timing belt a little so you can see them. Kind of like where dogs are always barking at invisible things, and sometimes dogs... What if dogs see like DMT the whole time with you mixed into it?
I don't think dogs bark at invisible things. They hear sounds
What's
that
DMT
you can't
mean?
hear. Dimethyltryptamine. Rick Strassman will be on the podcast, folks. He'll be on sometime soon. We're working out the date, but I'll be talking to him soon. He'll be flying in. It'll either be most likely it'll be October. Looking forward to it. And Rick Strassman, for no one, if anyone knows who he is, he's one of the, anyone doesn't rather, he's one of the first guys to ever get permission from the DEA to do university studies on dimethyltryptamine, on psychedelic drugs that are Schedule I drugs. And he did this series of tests out of the University of New Mexico and wrote a book about it called DMT, the Spirit Molecule, where they were injecting intravenous DMT into people's bodies, where it's the longest trip. If you smoke it, it goes directly into your bloodstream, but your body brings it back to baseline in about 10 to 15 minutes, depending upon the dose. But if you inject it, it takes a half hour. And apparently these people all had like these intense DMT trips, like what I'm talking about, but that went on for 30 minutes.
Fuck that, right?
Fuck that. Get me in there. Sign me up.
So you would do a 30-minute one?
Yeah, dude. I did 5 of them the other day. I did one after the other.
Wow.
Yeah, we kept doing it.
Damn.
It was amazing. Yeah, you walk out of there, you feel better about life, you feel better about people, you feel sorry for like angry, shitty people. Instead of being mad back at them, you feel sorry for them.
And you're not concerned with any side effects?
No, none. There's none. I think the side effects that I had when I did it those years ago when I was talking to you about it, I think a lot of those side effects were based on where I was in my head at that time. That it was so obliterating. And then it took me a while to sort of come to grips with what I learned from that experience. But this experience, which is at least 2 years since my last one, this experience was only positive. There was nothing negative about it. It was like I was ready for this experience. Like instead of it like knocking me in the dirt, I had learned enough from my last one that I came into it with in a good place. Like you're always going to have like a certain amount of ridicule from them. Like you're always going to like, it'll put a lot of your ideas and your, like a lot of your, like what you think is important in a perspective. So I think like that always happens. Because I think being a person, stopping at red lights, talking to people, dealing with customer service on the phone, like you develop just a certain pattern of behavior that you think is normal for existing in society. And that normalcy you carry around with you like a shield. And when you do DMT, they go, "Give me that." They throw it away. You're like, "You silly. Like, look at all this." And they're showing you this insane fractal universe that you exist in. And it's only positive to me. But that's me. I wouldn't advise it. You know, like I said, I had that one weird trip that fucked me up for a couple weeks. And I'm pretty stable and sane in comparison to a lot of people that I know. So if you're not stable or not sane or you're having real problems, I wouldn't recommend you doing it.
Yeah.
Right here. That's me.
That's you? I would recommend you doing it, though.
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very... I've had a few bad trips like we've talked about in the past, and I've still done it, even though knowing those bad trips. But there was also a recent time where I did mushrooms where I remember going, you know what? I think I'm done with this. I'm not going to learn anything more from this. This is now just kind of like me fucking with my brain that hopefully everything works out okay. You know?
You could definitely learn more.
I would hate
Stop
if I
lying
get
to yourself.
I'll still. I'm not writing it off, but there was. That's what I felt my last trip though. When I was in my trip,
I would hate getting stuck in there.
Yeah.
Eddie Bravo's tattoo artist. I forget the gentleman's name, but he's a really good tattoo artist. The guy who did that biomech stuff on his arm. Mm-hmm. He did DMT like 100 days in a row. And somewhere during the trip, the DMT entities were like, hey, no more. Stop. Enough. Like they were telling him, you got to stop doing this.
Wow.
But he was creating all this artwork and all this. He was having all these visions, and he wanted to be in the DMT realm more than he wanted to be in the regular world. So he was like pulling back from the regular world. He was like, he didn't want to interact with people. He just couldn't wait to get back to his house to get blasted again, so he'd go into hyperspace.
When you finally get into just the DMT realm, you just become homeless, right? That's what those guys are probably on the streets. They've done so much drugs, most of them mixed with you know schizophrenia in their backgrounds, maybe. But those are just people that have fucked their brains up, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people are just mentally ill. I don't think they've done it necessarily to themselves with drugs.
Episode number 989. Joe Rogan and Dorian Yates discuss DMT, ayahuasca, and the idea that reality might be a simulation.
Now, speaking of smoking good stuff, how did you find out about DMT, and how did you get involved? Because I read something about you having these positive DMT experiences. I'm like, wow, how strange is it reading about, this massive bodybuilder now getting into psychedelic drugs?
Well,
and speaking openly about it.
Yeah, first time I did ayahuasca was in Brazil. I met my wife, who was outside. She lived in Brazil, so we went out to the Amazon. But this was like 10 years ago, So people weren't really, not like now. People know what ayahuasca is because so much information out there. Yourself talking about it, I'm talking about it. It's a ton of stuff on the internet. Wasn't so much then, but I heard about it. And I heard about it's this life-changing experience and all that stuff. So we were out in Brazil, and we got this guide, and I asked him for ayahuasca, and he's like, bring me these 2 bottles of brown stuff. I don't even know to this day if it was really ayahuasca, but I just got really sick and didn't see any great revelations apart from I got this thing in my head, stop poisoning yourself. But the night before, I'd been out drinking, getting drunk and everything. That was my experience with that. Then a friend of mine out here in California, actually, I knew about DMT. I used to live in Amsterdam, and I read the DMT spirit molecule and all that stuff, so I knew about it, but I had no idea to get this stuff, where you can get it from and everything. So a friend of mine got it, and that was my, first experience of leaving the room, so to speak, and
leaving the planet.
And then since then, I had some very positive ayahuasca experiences, but with a shaman and doing properly and preparing 5 days of restricted diet and no sex and all these kind of things you do to prepare and also afterwards. So DMT is blow the fucking doors off your perception and realize that this world we're in is it's nothing, it's just a little illusion, right? There's so much more outside of it. So there was that, but with the DMT, I think it's you got a computer with so much storage space, and you got, it's 1,000 times more than you can retain. So you see all this stuff, and while you're there, you're like, ha ha ha, I know everything. Oh, yes. But when you come back, how much of it can you hold on to,
Right.
So you've seen it, and that's makes you look at everything differently. But the ayahuasca is over hours. So I feel from the ayahuasca, I actually benefited more. It was like going through therapy or something, because it was much slower and I could digest it,
Right.
So, but doing it with the shaman, I did it with a guy called Guillermo Avarello, and he's one of the top guys in the world from Peru. He comes to Spain a couple of times a year, so I did it with him. And it's probably, I don't know, it's probably 2 or 3 years since I did DMT, because I sat down one day and I said, right, actually I fasted for 2 days before, so I'd be just in the zone. And I said, right, I'm going to sit down. I got my DMT here. I got my vaporizer here. I'm going to fucking smoke as much DMT as I possibly can till till I go on and pass out. So I had that experience, and since then I don't feel any need to do it. I don't think there's anything more I can take from it,
I've had many people tell me the same thing. They had such a profound breakthrough experience that they're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I had a crazy one in around 2008 or 9 or something like that, and I took a long time off. I didn't do it again till 5 years later, maybe.
Yeah, and it's pretty intense, man. I mean, the ayahuasca is nice because it comes in nice and subtle, and you go through hours of this thing. But DMT is
last time I did DMT,
you feel very anxious when you'd it's almost like you're leaving your body, and then, no, I don't want to. you know?
Yeah.
So you get that bit of anxiety.
But once you go,
Once
feel
you go, it's
okay.
cool, yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. But
have you done it more than one time in a day? Like multiple times in a night?
No, I just, just blasted it as far as I could go, and that was it.
I've done it several times over the course of a few hours. And, you're more comfortable letting go that way in some sort of a strange way, but it never gets less alien.
Well, we had I'm not going to mention his name. I don't know his name, but we had an experience, me and my friend, a few months ago that I've never seen before. Because usually people take DMT, they're very calm and sit in a chair, and you go off and you might start laughing. But, you don't move much, right? And this guy, he just, freaked out. And it wasn't for 10 minutes, but for half an hour. My friend was a former MMA fighter. He used to fight with Shamrocks. So he knew wrestling techniques, so he had to hold this guy on the floor to stop him from hurting himself, because he was totally freaking out. So I could see the guy was going through something traumatic from the past. So today I messaged him. I was like, hey, did you ever find out what was that? Because he said, yeah, it was from his birth.
What?
It was from his birth. When he was born, he had the cord around his neck.
Oh, Jesus.
And he went back and he relived this, and so that had been in the back of his mind all his life. Subconscious has a huge effect on us, but we don't know it's there. So now he opened that box and let it out, and it's gone now,
Wow.
So it can be therapeutic. Yeah, I thought this guy is wow, he's going to be, but when he came back, he was like, hey. I'm like, you good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, do you know what just happened? He's like, no. I said, good thing we filmed it then, man. Go home and watch this.
I had a friend who freaked out too. He freaked out. He threw up, took his shirt off, was running around saying a bunch of crazy shit. And then after he came down, we calmed him down. It took 10, 15 minutes. He goes, okay, well, obviously I'm a work in progress. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that statement.
But did he know what it was that was troubling him so much?
No. Well, he had a bad childhood, for sure.
Well, everything is most of our shit is from there, right?
Yeah.
From the developing years.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's, and especially real traumatic ones, abuse, being beaten by his stepdad, and a bunch of fucked up shit that was just haunting him.
But it helps you to come to terms with that, especially the ayahuasca, because it's longer. I felt like the first time I did ayahuasca properly with a shaman, I felt like I was a different person the next day. I felt it was like I'd done 20 years of fucking therapy or something.
Yeah.
Just a lot of stuff I'd worked out in my mind. I could even see other people's point of view on things and that I couldn't see before. And,
that's huge, right? Seeing other people's point of view, because especially a guy like you who's so determined and goal-oriented and just cut out all the bullshit and get it done.
Yeah, it can be a little insensitive to other people's feelings around it, because you're just like, nothing, keep out my way.
That's a male thing in particular anyway, right? And then add
it's
steroids on top of that.
Yeah.
And bodybuilding and intensity and competition, and then being the best, arguably the best ever, and just fucking grinding every day.
Well, my son said to me a couple of weeks ago, he's like, Dad, you don't see yourself as other people see you. I said, what do you mean? He said, I remember when I was a kid, first of all, the size, it was fucking huge, but it's your persona. You might have said to me something very normal, whatever, what are you doing with a dog? Just something normal. And he said, I'll be like, oh, because just your presence made me feel like that,
Right. That's got to be weird when you're a little tiny kid and your dad's a gorilla.
Yeah. I remember he did he did kickboxing, right? So he got his black belt when he was about 11 or something like that. And that was my thing. I used to take him to kickboxing and pick him up. And he's like, Dad, can you wait outside? I'm like, what do you mean? You don't want me to come in? And can you just wait outside? I'm like, you don't want me to come? It's like, yeah, but everyone's freaking out and looking at you. And
well, it's got to be nice
so
now.
I'm like, no, I'm fucking coming inside, man.
Semi-anonymous in crowds now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless someone's a hardcore bodybuilding fan.
Well, there's the thing. Not necessarily slow, because of the interviews I did on London Real. And I talked about ayahuasca and DMT and spirituality and reality and all this stuff. I get so many people coming up to me they're not from the gym. I get housewives, young kids. It's almost like, you're the guy from London Real. You're the guy that, So I get a whole bunch of other people that appreciate what I'm saying about spirituality, about reality and life, and they're like, fuck, man, what you said that really helped me. And I got so many letters, emails and stuff. People, you know, like they just took something away from what I was saying. So, I mean, that's really why I do these interviews. It's just trying to help the whole general vibe and the, you know, put it out there. And there's a whole consciousness awakening, a revolution going on now. And I'm just want to push some dominoes, you know, and like create that effect. And then, you know, if you touch one person, they touch somebody else, and it's like, you know, the butterfly wings flap here, and the other side of the world is a, you know,
it really,
tsunami or something.
It does seem to be working in that regard, right?
It is the time, man. It's the time. There's so many people that are more aware now than like 20 years ago.
Isn't it kind of like, I mean, there's parallels to bodybuilding, right? That when Arnold first started doing it, there was very little information, hardly, and you guys got to see what they did and build upon that, and more information came out. And now, because of the internet, there's so much information,
almost too much information.
People
now
are aware more of what it's all about. Well, with psychedelics, I mean, 20, 30 years ago, there's so much ignorance and so little understanding. And also so little understanding, especially when it comes to something as extreme as DMT. There's still a giant percentage of our population doesn't even know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, they should all take it, especially the fucking politicians. I like to get those politicians, man, and fucking get them in a room and force them to take DMT, and then see how they're going to behave afterwards.
Yeah.
How they're going to look at the world and treat people after they had that experience. I don't think you can be you know, so self-centered and unfeeling as most of them are after you've had that experience.
I think that any breakthrough psychedelic experience, whether it's psilocybin or LSD or DMT, they're
all pretty much, you know,
ego dissolving,
different road to the same place. You know.
Well, Terence McKenna used to say that DMT is the center of the mandala. The way I describe DMT is it's like mushrooms times 1,000,000 plus aliens.
Yeah.
And that it seems so titanically bizarre that there's like, I've tried to describe it to people, but I always say, look, I'm going to tell.
You can't
I'm
really
gonna,
do it, man.
Yeah, I'm going to give you some bullshit words.
Yeah,
I'm
you can't really do it because you can't.
There's no way.
We don't have the words,
right,
to put it into words. You know, you can attempt to. I went to this place. Well, it's not a place, but I don't have the word for it.
The place is everywhere.
Yeah, it's like, and there's colors, there's numbers, there's shapes, and
people.
Things, and there's like
gestures.
Everything is all one fucking thing. And what I noticed is like my breath was connected to it. I don't know how it happened, but I was in the trip and I went like that, and the whole thing moved. I was like, really? Let me try this then. And then the whole thing moved, and then there was music playing, and music was part of the thing as well. Like the thing. I don't even know what to call it. The thing, the place. I don't have a word, you know.
We played a bunch of these shaman Icaros, and the shaman Icaro. This is the last time I did it, and the shaman Icaros like literally made the DMT images dance.
Yeah,
like they had figured out a way with these sounds and songs to integrate these beats into DMT trips, and as you would take these trips, these shamans had figured out the right sounds and songs and how to make the trip more intense and sort of guide it in a strange way.
Well, that's what I had with the shaman with the ayahuasca. He comes around and he sings these acaros, and then it's like changes tone, and then it goes deeper bass in his chest, and it's like it becomes part of it, you know. And I was even moving involuntarily. My arms was going up, my body was moving, and it's like, I'm not doing this. I don't even know how it's happening. It's like somebody's picking my arms up and moving. I was, you know, started dancing around with this, becoming part of this rhythm.
Wow. I had experience once, one of the first times I ever did DMT, where I saw the difference between negative and positive thinking. Like I started thinking negative, and there was all this like black and dark green and like these threatening shapes and colors, and then something recognized what was going on in my brain, that these shapes and images were connected to negative thinking, and I relaxed, and the shapes kind of like settled down, and then I started thinking positive. Like I heard all these like expressions of love, but like you're hearing it but you're not really hearing it. It's like the thoughts are getting into your head, like someone's trying to say it without using words. And then I started thinking positive, and from those dark images, blossomed, these like beautiful, like geometric flowers and colors and impossibly spectacularly beautiful images. And I was like, oh, and I recognized in my mind there's an actual thing that happens when you think negatively, and an actual, it's not just some sort of an abstract
everything.
idea.
You affect the program.
Yes.
You're in a program, and your thoughts, the program's coming towards you, and your thoughts are going, and it's interacting with the program. You know?
And that's why conflict, like interpersonal conflict between people, can be so negative. It's not just as simple as you and some person getting into an argument. It's those dark images and those negative forces. It becomes a part of your system.
I had exactly the same thing. So, but it was almost like a tunnel. I was in this tunnel, and it was the same thing. It was like, like all these images around and scary and everything. And I was like, instinctively, I knew to be very relaxed.
Yeah.
And I started laughing like, fuck you. You're not even real. You're not even real. And when I said that, it went away, and I just got this thing that came into my head. You've just been in the valley, what's it called? The valley of the shadow of death. It's in the Lord's Prayer, I think. Yeah, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you should fear no evil, because God's by the side.
Right.
I vaguely remember it from school or something. But I got this thing that you were there, and you're in the valley of the shadow of death, and because you fuck you, like, oh, it's not even real. It just disappeared, and then I went to somewhere really nice.
Wow. Yeah, I just wonder how much is real. You know, it's such a hippie thing to say. Like, how much is real? I don't know. You know, I've been having these thoughts a lot lately. Like, how much of life do you manifest? How much of life is real? Because it's such a bullshit thing to think. It's such a hippie thing to think. And so many people that say that are so annoying.
Yeah, but scientists are saying the same thing now. Quantum physicists are saying, who was it? I think his name's Professor Gates. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Professor Gates, and he said that they've broken down reality into the smallest level, and it's a computer code.
Yes, I've seen that guy.
Not only is it a computer code, it's a specific computer code of zeros and ones, and it was invented in the 1940s by somebody.
Yeah, I've seen that guy being interviewed. We actually talked about it with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I tried to get him to sort of break it down and explain. But what it is essentially that when you break reality down to the smallest level, it mimics a self-correcting computer code. Not just a computer code, but a computer code that's self-correcting, which is right there. I just said a bunch of noises that I don't even understand. Yeah. You know, it's gone beyond my.
But now you're getting spirituality and science.
Right.
It's coming together because the scientists are saying what spiritual masters. Well, they're already telling us that we live in an illusion and everything is inside, not outside. They were saying that thousands of years ago.
But now some of it is real. Like, you have to work hard or you don't get results. Yeah. Right? Like, your hard, fast, pragmatic reality of being the best bodybuilder in the world, it revolves around actual work, real results.
In this reality, in this program.
But also,
you need to do physical stuff, yeah.
Probably there was a lot of mental shit going on there too.
Absolutely.
The work was being done, but also there was probably a lot
thoughts all day. I mean, that's all I thought about, literally all fucking day. So, you know, I had to have the physical goods to make it happen. I could dream about being a basketball player all day. Probably wouldn't help me because I'm not built to be a basketball player. But those thoughts were just going out all the time. And I was a kid in Birmingham, industrial city in England, and I was thinking, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to be a bodybuilder, and everyone around me was like, the fuck you talking about? So yeah, there was those thoughts all the time. So I think it's like a holographic program we're in, but we influence it, we interact with it with our thoughts. That's kind of where I'm getting at now.
Yes,
you know?
in some way.